February 16th, 1962, 11:47 p.m. Johnny Torrio clutched his chest and collapsed in the doorway of his Brooklyn mansion. His wife screamed. His bodyguards rushed him to the hospital. The doctors shook their heads gravely. Massive coronary, Dr. Mitchell announced to the waiting family. At his age, with his stress levels, it was inevitable. What the doctors didn't know, what the family never suspected, what even the FBI couldn't prove, was that Johnny Torrio's natural heart attack was the result of 6 months of careful, methodical poisoning by Bumpy Johnson. The most perfect murder in criminal history had just been completed. To understand why Bumpy Johnson decided to kill Johnny Torrio, you need to understand who Torrio was in 1962. He wasn't just another aging mobster. He was the architect of modern organized crime, the man who discovered Al Capone, the strategist who'd organized the first crime syndicate, the teacher who'd shown every major boss how to build an empire. At 80 years old, Johnny Torrio was supposedly retired, living quietly in Brooklyn, writing his memoirs. But retirement was a lie. Torrio was planning one final operation that would have destroyed everything Bumpy Johnson had built in Harlem. August 15th, 1961. Bumpy received information that changed everything. His source was impeccable. Detective Raymond Murphy, a corrupt NYPD officer who'd been feeding Bumpy intelligence for 15 years. Bumpy, you need to hear this. Torrio's not really retired. They were sitting in Murphy's car in Prospect Park, away from listening ears and watching eyes. What do you mean? Murphy lit a cigarette with shaking hands. He's been meeting with 5 different families: Genovese, Gambino, Lucchese, Colombo, Bonanno. They're planning something big. Like what? Like carving up the entire East Coast. New territories, new rules, new structure. And Bumpy, Harlem's not part of the new structure. Bumpy sat in silence for a long moment, processing the implications. If the 5 families were reorganizing under Torrio's guidance, if they were planning to exclude Harlem from the new arrangement, it meant only one thing: total war. How long have these meetings been going on? 6 months, maybe longer. Torrio's been the architect, drawing up plans like he did in Chicago 40 years ago. That night, Bumpy made a decision that would have shocked anyone who thought they knew him. Instead of preparing for war, instead of calling his own allies, instead of stockpiling weapons, he drove to the New York Public Library. For 3 weeks, Bumpy Johnson became a student again. But instead of studying strategy or tactics, he studied chemistry. Specifically, he studied poisons, not the dramatic kind from detective novels. The subtle kind. The kind that mimicked natural death. The kind that killed slowly, progressively, untraceably. What Bumpy discovered changed his entire approach to the Torrio problem. Certain combinations of readily available substances, administered in tiny doses over extended periods, could cause progressive heart damage that was indistinguishable from natural aging and stress. September 10th, 1961. Bumpy made an unexpected phone call. "Mr. Torrio, this is Bumpy Johnson from Harlem. I was wondering if you might have time for a conversation." Torrio was surprised but intrigued. "Bumpy Johnson, I've heard a lot about you. What can I do for you?" "Well, sir, I've been thinking about the changing landscape in New York. Seems like there might be opportunities for cooperation between experienced operators." It was exactly what Torrio wanted to hear. Here was Bumpy Johnson, the independent king of Harlem, apparently ready to discuss joining a larger organization. "That's very interesting, Bumpy. Perhaps we should meet." "I'd be honored, Mr. Torrio. Would you prefer neutral ground? Or would you be comfortable meeting in Brooklyn? I could come to you." Torrio smiled. The young man was showing proper respect to his elders. "Come to my house. Sunday afternoon. We'll have coffee, discuss the future." September 17th, 1961. Bumpy Johnson arrived at Johnny Torrio's Brooklyn mansion, carrying a small gift: premium Ethiopian coffee beans, still in their original packaging, from an expensive Manhattan shop. "Mr. Torrio, I brought you something. I heard you were particular about your coffee." Torrio was genuinely pleased. You didn't have to do that, Bumpy, but I appreciate the gesture. Marie, he called to his wife. We have company. Use the good cups. What Torrio didn't know was that those coffee beans had been carefully treated with a compound that would begin attacking his cardiovascular system immediately. Odorless, tasteless, completely undetectable. For 2 hours, they drank coffee and discussed the future of organized crime in New York. Torrio outlined his vision, a coordinated confederation of families, each with defined territories and responsibilities, all working under unified leadership. The days of independent operators are ending, Bumpy. The government's getting too sophisticated, too organized. We need to be more organized too. Bumpy nodded thoughtfully. That makes a lot of sense, Mr. Torrio. Where would Harlem fit in this new structure? Well, that depends on how cooperative Harlem is willing to be. By the end of the meeting, Torrio was convinced he'd found a valuable new ally. Bumpy was convinced his plan would work. October through January became a carefully orchestrated routine. Every 2 weeks, Bumpy would visit Torrio's mansion, always with gifts. Premium cigars treated with the same compound as the coffee, expensive brandy with additives that enhance the poison's effectiveness, gourmet chocolates laced with substances that accelerated cardiac stress. Each visit, Torrio seemed more pleased with his new protege. Each visit, Bumpy learned more about the reorganization plan. Each visit, the poison worked deeper into Torrio's system. You know, Bumpy, Torrio said during a December meeting, I think you have real leadership potential. When we finalize the new structure, I might recommend you for a significant position. That's very generous of you, Mr. Torrio. What made the plan so perfect was Torrio's age and lifestyle. He was 80 years old, overweight, stressed from decades of criminal activity. When his health began declining gradually, nobody suspected anything unusual. January 1962, Dr. Mitchell began treating Torrio for what appeared to be age-related heart problems, irregular heartbeat, elevated blood pressure, occasional chest pains. At your age, Johnny, this is normal, the doctor explained. We'll monitor it, adjust your medications, but these things happen. Torrio accepted the diagnosis completely. So did his family. So did his associates. An 80-year-old crime boss having heart problems was the most natural thing in the world. Meanwhile, Bumpy continued his regular visits, always bringing gifts, always appearing concerned about Torrio's health, always being the perfect, respectful protege.
Mr. Torrio, you should take care of yourself. Maybe reduce your stress levels. Delegate more responsibilities.
You're probably right, Bumpy, but there's so much to organize, so many details to finalize. February 10th, 1962. Bumpy made his final visit to the Torrio mansion. By now, the old man was visibly failing. His color was poor, his breathing labored, his energy limited. I brought you some special tea, Bumpy said, presenting an elegant gift box. It's supposed to be good for heart health. The tea contained the largest dose yet of the compound that had been slowly destroying Torrio's cardiovascular system for 6 months. You're very thoughtful, Bumpy. I don't know what I would have done without your friendship these past months. It's been an honor learning from you, Mr. Torrio. They spent 3 hours together that afternoon. Torrio shared details about the final phase of the reorganization plan, how the territories would be divided, who would control what operations, how the new leadership structure would function. Most importantly, he explained what would happen to Harlem. I'm afraid your independence is coming to an end, Bumpy. The other families won't tolerate autonomous operations anymore. You'll be absorbed into the Genovese structure, probably as a lieutenant-level position. Bumpy nodded, as if accepting his fate. I understand, Mr. Torrio. The times are changing. But don't worry. Your cooperation will be remembered. You'll be treated well. That evening, as Bumpy drove back to Harlem, he calculated that Johnny Torrio had perhaps a week to live. The accumulated poison in his system was reaching critical levels. His next heart episode would be fatal. February 16th, 1962, 11:47 p.m. Johnny Torrio collapsed in his doorway and died before the ambulance arrived. The funeral was massive. Representatives from all 5 families attended. The FBI photographed everyone present. The newspapers called it the end of an era. Nobody suspected murder. Why would they? An 80-year-old man with documented heart problems dies of cardiac arrest. It was the most natural death imaginable. The reorganization plan died with Torrio. Without his unifying leadership, without his strategic vision, the 5 families couldn't agree on the new structure. The meetings continued for months, but produced nothing concrete. Harlem remained independent. Bumpy Johnson remained king. 6 months later, Detective Murphy asked Bumpy about Torrio's death during one of their regular meetings. Convenient timing, don't you think? Just when he was about to reorganize everything, Bumpy's expression didn't change. Heart disease is a terrible thing, Detective Murphy, especially at his age.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
The important thing is that his suffering is over. Years later, after Bumpy's own death in 1968, medical researchers studying organized crime mortality patterns noticed an interesting statistical anomaly. Several elderly crime figures who died of natural causes in the early 1960s had all consumed products from the same small group of Manhattan specialty shops. The pattern was interesting enough to warrant investigation, but by then the trail was cold. The shops had closed. The suppliers had disappeared. The only person who could have explained the connection was dead. What made this murder so genius wasn't just the method, it was the psychological manipulation. For 6 months, Bumpy had convinced Torrio that he was gaining a valuable ally while actually killing him slowly. Every gift was a weapon. Every friendly conversation was part of an execution. The irony was perfect. Johnny Torrio, the man who taught Al Capone everything about patience and long-term planning, was killed by someone who understood those lessons even better than he did. In criminal circles, the story became whispered legend, not because anyone could prove what happened, but because the timing was too perfect, the method too clean, the results too beneficial for Bumpy Johnson. The message was clear. Cross Bumpy Johnson, and you might not die in a hail of bullets. You might die drinking his coffee, smoking his cigars, enjoying his friendship, never knowing that every gesture of kindness was actually a step closer to your grave. The perfect murder remained perfect. Look, if this slow burn psychological masterpiece got your blood pumping, smash that like button. Could you have planned a 6-month assassination this methodical?